1997, Beverly Hills. A man lies dying at age 89. Outside, news crews gather. Inside, family keeps vigil. James Stewart. The last star of Hollywood's golden age, Academy Award winner, war hero, Brigadier General, America's conscience for half a century. His final words are about Gloria, his wife of 45 years who died 3 years earlier. He never recovered from losing her, but America never recovered from having him, because Jimmy Stewart represented something the modern world struggles to understand: goodness without weakness, strength without cruelty, fame without corruption. This is episode 7, the final chapter, Why We Still Love Him, Why We Always Will. August 1949. Jimmy Stewart marries Gloria McClain. He's 41 years old, she's 31. Divorced with 2 young sons, not an actress, not Hollywood royalty, just a woman who sees past the celebrity to the damaged man beneath. Their wedding is simple, intimate. No media circus, no magazine deals, just 2 people making a commitment that will last until death. And death will be the only thing that breaks them. Gloria understands what most people don't, that Jimmy Stewart, the movie star, and Jimmy Stewart, the man, are 2 completely different people, that the drawl and the boyish charm and the aw-shucks persona are armor, protection against a world that wants something from him he can't give. She sees the nightmares, the way he wakes up screaming, the cold sweats, the 1,000-yard stare that comes without warning, the days when he can barely get out of bed, the weight he carries from men who died 20 years ago. She doesn't try to fix him, doesn't demand he get over it, doesn't make his trauma about her feelings. She just accepts it, all of it, the good man and the broken man, the hero and the haunted, the star and the soldier. That acceptance saves his life. Her 2 sons become his sons, Ronald and Michael McClain. He raises them as his own, teaches them about duty and honor and what it means to be a man. Ronald will later die in Vietnam wearing a Marine Corps uniform, following in his stepfather's footsteps. 1951. Twin daughters arrive, Judy and Kelly. Now Jimmy has 4 children, a full house, chaos and laughter and normalcy. The family becomes his anchor, the reason to keep going when the nightmares get bad, the proof that life continues after war, that goodness still exists in a world that showed him so much darkness. Gloria manages it all: the household, the children, the career, and most importantly, Jimmy himself. When the darkness comes, she's there. When the weight gets too heavy, she carries some of it. When he wants to quit, she reminds him why he can't. For 45 years, they build a life together, not a Hollywood marriage of convenience and affairs and eventual bitter divorce, but a real marriage, partnership, team, love that deepens instead of fading. She dies in 1994, cancer, after fighting it for years. Jimmy is 86 years old when he loses her, and something in him dies too. The last 3 years of his life, he's a shell, going through motions, waiting, because life without Gloria isn't really life. It's just existence until he can join her. December 1946. A strange little film premieres. It's a Wonderful Life. Director Frank Capra, star James Stewart. The movie is a financial disappointment. Critics are lukewarm. Audiences don't quite know what to make of it. Too dark for a holiday film. Too sentimental for serious drama. It loses money. Disappears from theaters quickly. Everyone assumes it's forgotten, just another flop in Hollywood's endless churn of failed projects. They're wrong. Because 30 years later, through a quirk of copyright law, the film enters public domain. Television stations start showing it again and again every December for free. And America discovers what 1946 missed: George Bailey. The man who wanted to see the world but stayed home, who wanted to build things but ran the family business, who sacrificed his dreams for duty, who contemplated suicide when everything fell apart, who needed an angel to show him his life mattered. That character resonates in ways no one predicted. Because George Bailey is every man who feels trapped, every person who wonders if their sacrifices mean anything, every American who questions whether they matter. And Jimmy Stewart plays him with such raw honesty that it hurts to watch. Because George Bailey isn't just a character, it's Jimmy, the man who went to war instead of staying safe in Hollywood, who flew bombers instead of making movies, who lost men and carried guilt and came home broken, who wondered if any of it mattered. The final scene, George Bailey surrounded by friends and family, realizing his life touched countless others, that his sacrifices weren't meaningless, that he had a wonderful life after all. Jimmy plays that scene crying real tears, not acting, feeling, because he needs to believe it too, needs to believe the nightmares and the guilt and the cost were worth it. The film becomes a Christmas tradition, the most watched movie of the season. Generation after generation discovers it, cries at it, finds hope in it, and through it, they discover Jimmy Stewart. Not just the actor, but the man, the goodness, the decency, the proof that sacrificing for others creates meaning. Most people achieve greatness in one field. Jimmy Stewart achieved it in two. Hollywood legend and military hero, movie star and Brigadier General, 74 films across 50 years, Academy Award for the Philadelphia Story, 5 additional nominations. American Film Institute ranks him the third greatest male screen legend in cinema history. But those are just statistics. The real achievement is deeper. Jimmy Stewart defined what American masculinity could be. Not the tough guy, not the gunslinger, not the untouchable hero, but the everyman who rises to challenges, the ordinary person who does extraordinary things when necessary, the good man trying his best in an imperfect world. His characters struggle, doubt, fail, then find courage anyway. That's revolutionary, because Hollywood usually sells invincibility, but Jimmy sold humanity. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, the idealist who refuses to be corrupted. Rear Window, the voyeur confronting evil from a wheelchair. Vertigo, the obsessed man destroyed by his own desires. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, the senator built on a lie, complex, flawed, real. And on the other side of his life, the military achievement. 30 years of service, from private to brigadier general, combat missions in 2 wars, the only actor in American history to reach general officer rank, not honorary, earned. Through thousands of flight hours and decades of training and genuine sacrifice, while other celebrities got publicity photos in uniform, Jimmy got distinguished flying crosses. While others did USO tours and went home, Jimmy flew into enemy fire. While others thanked soldiers from safe distances, Jimmy served beside them. That dual achievement is unprecedented. No one else in Hollywood history comes close, and likely no one ever will, because the era that produced men like Jimmy Stewart is gone. The generation that understood duty above fame, service above comfort, country above career. He represents the last of something America struggles to recreate. 1960s and 1970s. America tears itself apart. Civil rights, Vietnam, Watergate, cultural revolution. The country can't agree on anything. Jimmy Stewart navigates it all by following one rule: principle over politics. He supports the troops in Vietnam even as Hollywood protests, not because he loves war. The nightmares prove he hates it, but because abandoning soldiers in combat betrays everything he believes about duty and honor. When his stepson Ronald dies in Vietnam, he doesn't use the grief for political purposes, doesn't denounce the war, doesn't demand withdrawal, because that would dishonor Ronald's sacrifice, would betray every soldier still fighting. Instead, he serves, visits wounded veterans, writes letters to families, shows up at military funerals, carries the weight silently. He's politically conservative, but never cruel, never hateful, never uses his platform to attack others, just lives by his values and lets his life speak. When others go low, Jimmy stays high. When the culture turns cynical, Jimmy remains decent. When irony becomes the dominant mode, Jimmy stays sincere. It makes him seem old-fashioned, out of touch, too simple for complicated times. But that's the point. Some things shouldn't be complicated. Duty, honor, treating people with respect, keeping your word, serving something larger than yourself. Jimmy never compromises those principles, not for money, not for fame, not for politics, not for anything. And Americans respect that. Even those who disagree with his politics, because integrity transcends ideology. Character matters more than positions. He proves you can be strong without being mean, conservative without being hateful, patriotic without being jingoistic, traditional without being closed-minded. That balance feels impossible now. But Jimmy lived it for 89 years, 1994. Gloria dies. Jimmy is 86 years old. The anchor that held him steady for 45 years is gone. He declines rapidly after that, not physically at first, emotionally, spiritually. The light goes out of his eyes. The energy drains away. He's just waiting now, going through motions until he can join her. Friends and family try to help, but there's no helping someone who doesn't want to be helped, who's ready to go, who's tired of living without the person who made life worth living. He stops leaving the house much, sits in his chair, looks at photos of Gloria, talks to her like she's still there. Maybe in some way she is. The nightmares continue. 60 years after the war, they still come. Men burning in bombers, friends dying in his arms, missions that went wrong. The weight never fully lifts. He just learned to carry it, and now he's too tired to carry it anymore. July 2nd, 1997, early morning, Beverly Hills home, family gathered. Jimmy lies in bed, peaceful, ready. His last words are about Gloria, about seeing her soon, about missing her, about love that death can't end. Then he's gone, age 89. After a life that mattered more than most, the funeral is private. Family and close friends, no media circus, no Hollywood spectacle. Just people who loved him saying goodbye. But America mourns publicly. News coverage for days, tributes from presidents and actors and veterans. Everyone has a Jimmy Stewart story. Everyone feels the loss. Because losing Jimmy Stewart is losing a piece of America itself. The good America. The decent America. The America that believed in honor and duty and sacrifice. They bury him with military honors. Full ceremony. Flag-draped coffin. 21-gun salute. Taps played by a bugler as the flag is folded and presented to his daughters. Brigadier General James Stewart, movie star and warrior, actor and soldier, Hollywood legend and American hero, the last of his kind. 27 years after his death, Jimmy Stewart remains beloved, not just remembered, loved. His movies still play. It's a Wonderful Life still makes people cry every Christmas. His characters still resonate. His image still represents something pure. Why? Because Jimmy Stewart proved goodness isn't weakness, that you can be kind without being naive, decent without being dull, traditional without being rigid. In an age of anti-heroes and cynicism and irony, Jimmy was genuine, sincere, real. He never pretended to be perfect, never hid his struggles, never claimed to have all the answers, but he tried, always tried, to do the right thing, to serve something larger than himself, to be a good man in a complicated world. That effort matters. That consistency matters. That integrity matters. Modern celebrities are famous for being famous. They build brands, curate images, monetize influence. Everything is transactional, calculated, fake. Jimmy was famous for being good at his craft and good as a person. He built a legacy, lived his values, gave more than he took. Everything was authentic, principled, real. The contrast is stark and revealing. Because it shows what we've lost, what we miss, what we need. Young people discovering Jimmy Stewart today are shocked. They can't believe movie stars used to be like that. Can't imagine celebrities volunteering for combat. Can't fathom fame without scandal or ego or self-promotion. But that was normal for Jimmy's generation. Service before self. Duty before comfort. Country before career. Those weren't slogans. They were lived realities. Jimmy represents the best of that generation and the best of America, the proof that you can achieve great things without compromising your character. That success and integrity aren't mutually exclusive. That fame can be a responsibility instead of a playground. We love him because he shows us what we could be, should be, used to be, not perfect. Jimmy had flaws, made mistakes, struggled with demons, but he tried, kept trying, never gave up on being better. That's the lesson. That's the legacy. That's why America still loves Jimmy Stewart, because he loved America enough to serve it, sacrifice for it, defend it, honor it, and because he proved that loving your country doesn't require hating others. That patriotism can be generous instead of exclusive. That serving your nation means serving all its people. What did Jimmy Stewart leave behind? 74 films. Most people would consider that enough. A career that spans 50 years, an Academy Award, 5 additional nominations, characters that defined American cinema, moments that became cultural touchstones. But that's just the surface legacy, the obvious one. The one film historians catalog and critics analyze. The deeper legacy is in the example he set, the model he provided, the proof he offered. Proof that you can be successful without selling your soul, famous without losing yourself, powerful without abusing others, rich without becoming selfish, celebrated without becoming arrogant. Proof that duty matters, that service matters, that sacrifice for something larger than yourself gives life meaning that self-indulgence never can. Proof that when your country calls, you answer. Not because it's convenient, not because it benefits your career, but because citizenship means something, because freedom requires defenders, because some things are worth fighting for. Proof that marriage can last, that commitment means staying when it's hard, that love deepens through shared struggle, that partnership requires putting someone else's needs equal to your own. Proof that you can carry trauma without letting it define you, that nightmares don't disqualify you from living, that broken people can still contribute, that wounded doesn't mean worthless. Every veteran who saw Jimmy's example and felt less alone, every soldier who knew a Hollywood star understood what they carried, every wounded warrior who received one of Jimmy's letters or visits and felt seen, that's legacy. Every kid who watched It's a Wonderful Life and understood that ordinary lives matter. Every person who felt trapped but kept going because George Bailey kept going. Every American who needed proof that goodness wins eventually, that's legacy. Every actor who tries to bring truth to their roles instead of just collecting paychecks. Every celebrity who uses their platform to serve instead of just promote themselves. Every famous person who remembers their citizens first and stars second, that's Jimmy's influence. The legacy lives at the Air Force Academy where his example is taught, lives in veterans' hospitals where his name is honored, lives in film schools where his work is studied, lives in American homes where his movies still play, but most importantly, the legacy lives in the idea that you can be both. Hollywood and military, success and service, fame and duty, star and soldier all at once, without contradiction, without compromise. Jimmy Stewart proved it's possible. And in proving it's possible, he challenged everyone who came after him to try, to be better, to give more, to serve larger purposes. Most ignored that challenge, chose the easy path, the selfish path, the path where fame purchases exemption from responsibility. But some heard it, some answered it, some tried to follow his example. And that's enough. That's how legacies work, not by forcing everyone to be like you, but by showing what's possible if they choose to try. How do you measure a man's life? By the money he made? Jimmy died wealthy, millions in the bank, real estate, investments. But he rarely talked about money, gave much of it away, used his wealth to help others. By the fame he achieved? Jimmy was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood history, recognized everywhere, beloved by millions, but he never let fame define him. Walked away from it regularly to serve. By the awards he won, one Academy Award, multiple nominations, countless honors, but the medals he valued most were military. the ones earned in combat, the ones that came with sacrifice, by the family he built, 4 children, loving marriage, grandchildren, a home filled with warmth. That mattered more to him than any movie, more than any role, more than Hollywood could offer. By the lives he touched, countless soldiers who felt seen because of him, veterans who received help because of him, young people inspired by his example, Americans who believed in goodness because he proved it existed. Maybe you measure a man by the gap between who he claimed to be and who he actually was. By that measure, Jimmy Stewart was remarkable because the gap didn't exist. The man matched the image. The reality exceeded the myth. He said duty mattered, then served for 30 years. He said marriage was sacred, then stayed faithful for 45 years. He said soldiers deserved respect, then earned the right to say it by being one. He said character counted, then built an entire life proving it. That consistency is the true measure. That integrity is the real achievement. That living your values matters more than proclaiming them. Jimmy Stewart's life was the sermon. Everything else was just commentary. December, Christmas season, somewhere in America, a family gathers around the television. It's a Wonderful Life begins playing for the 100th time, the 1,000th time, the 1,000,000th time. They watch George Bailey struggle, doubt, nearly give up, then realize his life mattered after all. And they think of Jimmy Stewart, not just the actor who played the role, but the man who lived it, the man who struggled with nightmares but kept going, who doubted himself but kept serving, who carried weight that nearly broke him but never quit, the man who had a wonderful life. Not because it was easy, not because it was perfect, not because he avoided pain or suffering or loss, but because he lived it with purpose, with integrity, with commitment to something larger than himself. That's what makes a life wonderful. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of meaning. Not avoiding sacrifice, but making sacrifices matter. Jimmy Stewart understood that, lived it, proved it, and in proving it, he gave America a gift, a model, an example, a reminder of what we can be when we choose duty over comfort, service over selfishness, character over convenience. He's been gone 27 years, but the example remains. The legacy endures. The love persists. Because America doesn't just remember Jimmy Stewart. America needs Jimmy Stewart. Needs the proof that goodness can survive in a cynical world, that integrity can coexist with success, that fame doesn't require corruption, that service to country isn't outdated or naive. Needs the reminder that ordinary people can do extraordinary things, that broken people can still contribute, that wounded warriors can still serve, that carrying trauma doesn't disqualify you from living meaningfully. Needs the model of masculinity that's strong without being cruel, traditional without being rigid, patriotic without being exclusive, decent without being weak. We need Jimmy Stewart because he shows us what America can be at its best. Should be, must be if we're going to survive and thrive. Not perfect. Jimmy wasn't perfect, and America isn't perfect, but trying, always trying, to live up to ideals even when we fall short, to serve even when it costs, to be better tomorrow than we were today. That's the lesson. That's the legacy. That's why we still love him. James Maitland Stewart, 1908 to 1997, actor, soldier, husband, father, American. He had a wonderful life, and he made ours more wonderful by living it. This is Legends of America. Series complete.